Yan Beiqing was lying on the collapse, holding a cover in his hand to write. Read the book of miscellaneous records of various countries. After listening to the little C's biography, he ran across a shade in the deep of his pupils, and his face was still frivolous. My wife has been kneeling outside for a long time, and now you come to biography, aren't you impatient? I don't want to invite people in yet. Little C in the heart this just silently relaxed a breath. Yes, slave this go. After a while, Nanhe came in with the boy, looking at the person who has been missing for many days. Nanhe's pale and clear face is a bit sour, and his eyes are red. I've seen Wang Yi Jinan. Seeing this, Yan Beiqing threw the book in his hand, and quickly stepped to Nanji's body and lifted her up. How could he be so pale? But he was ill. Nanhe nibbled his lower lip and shook his head slowly. My concubine just missed the prince so much that she didn't eat well. The princess controlled the house very well, and was very generous to everyone. It seems to be a compliment, but in fact it is a deliberate complaint. It's easy to tell that there is something fishy about it, but people can't help sighing that Mrs. Nan is really kind. Mingming has been banned and framed by the princess, and she is still speaking for the princess. Yan Beiqing's eyes deepened a little, but she just didn't understand. She said, the princess is always a person who knows the general, and she is not too bad to others. These days, with a princess to take care of you, I can rest assured. The South Crane's heart was filled with depression, but he had to smile just right. What the Lord said is that my maid and concubine are new here. I'm afraid I can't get a foothold in the mansion so soon without the care of the princess these days. After a pause, she said with a smile, but I came here for the sake of the princess. What's the matter? Just say it slowly. Come on, sit down first and have a rest. Yan Beiqing's smile remained unchanged. He took her hand and sat down in front of the soft collapse. Then he turned his eyes and looked at the young man who was still clubbing on one side. Go to pass on the breakfast, and everyone else will step down. I still have a lot to say to Mrs. Nan. Before, she was his concubine, but after, she was only his subordinate. If everyone left, she would be a subordinate again. How could the play go on? Lord, when I came here, I had already eaten too early. I don't need to eat any more. The South Crane drags Yan Beiqing's sleeve robe, very understanding opening. Then make 2 hot teas. Yan Beiqing man smiles with a flattering smile. The maidservant Ho is envious of him. He is too busy to step back for fear that he will affect their relationship here. Seeing this, the young man quickly stepped back. At the moment when all the people in the house go down, the dark guard has been quietly paying attention to the outside of the house, in case someone has ears. As soon as he was gone, Yan Beiqing's doting color faded little by little, and his clear and penetrating eyes gradually turned to deep, unpredictable appearance. Even the radiance of his lips, and his eyebrows and eyes were cold, as if they were a different person. South Crane Harda Lin hurriedly back a few steps, and Yanbei City to keep the distance. Face gentle do fade, Lord. Yan Beiqing looked at her with no expression on his face. He couldn't see any emotion in his eyes. Why did he take off his hairpin in the morning? He was obviously asking questions, and his tone was very calm, as if he was just describing a very simple thing. The South Crane raises mouth to look at Yin North City. The voice is slightly low. Originally come to beg a crime, now don't have to. If you have to say that, I think you should be clearer, my lord. Yan Beiqing is as clear and intelligent as he is. I'm afraid she knows what she wants from the time she mentions the flower in the street, and from the time he pretends not to understand what she says. Yan Beiqing stared at her in silence for a long time, and then suddenly said, your courage and knowledge have improved a lot today. South Crane hook lips, pull out a wry smile. Is not afraid of subordinates, but subordinates too much understanding of the Lord, just as the Lord knew my purpose in general. It was a long time of silence. After a long time, Yan Beiqing began to speak slowly, and his voice dropped a few degrees. As you are now in the mansion, it's okay for you to move anyone, and I won't ask too much. It's just that your idea should never hit her. Although Nanha had doubts for a long time, now he felt a dull pain in his heart when he heard what Yan Beiqing said. After a while, she bit her lip and said, the Lord has been thinking about her for a long time, right? However, Yan Beiqing didn't cheat her as she imagined. He just turned around without expression, nodded without expression, yes. But a slight nod, a word-only answer, but completely shot her down in the abyss, physical and mental pain. She couldn't help but lift her eyes and touch the position of her heart. She asked incredulously, "I've been with you for so many years. Seeing you grow up step by step. Can't compare with the months you just met her?" It's like asking yourself, and it's like a heart-splitting question. Yan Beiqing was still looking at her with no emotion. He took out a bright yellow memorial from his sleeve and put it on the table. "I'm not interested in what you think. I only know that you should have a good look at it. Come and see if it's written by you." He squeezed the palm of his hand, then forced down the surging emotion in his heart. Then he came forward and took the memorial and opened it. The memorial was presented to the imperial city. It was signed 5 days ago. Except for the brief description of the Wujuan incident, the rest of the contents were all about the accusation and the letter of guilt. The writer of the memorial was a stranger. The contents are the same as those discussed by Hua Qianlu and Hua Shanghua when they discussed how to solve the problem of Wujuan. They even wrote clearly about the request to abolish the throne of princess. The handwriting is also very imaginative with the flowers on the street. Those who are very familiar with it also need to look carefully to distinguish them. South Crane body suddenly is stiff, holding the hands of the memorial, biting lips speechless. "You are very good at imitating other people's handwriting. Even my handwriting you can look the same. I'm afraid this memorial is from you." She didn't open her mouth, but Yan Beiqing didn't plan to give her more opportunities to hesitate. She said in a cold voice, "With your intelligence, it's easy to replace the memorial. If there is no accident in the middle of the journey, the memorial will be sent to the imperial city smoothly. Next, I'm afraid my princess will be replaced." In front of Yan Beiqing, the slightest disguise and excuse of Nanhe was futile. Therefore, she just pinched the memorial tightly and didn't speak for a long time. In fact, she does not know how to explain now, so that Yan Beiqing can trust her again. He didn't say that, but Yan Beiqing didn't plan to stop. He took out another secret letter and threw it in front of her. "And this is also from your hand. And that day, it was just when you failed to frame the princess and nearly came to light. You worried that things would spread to me, so you did the same thing again and changed the secret letter that day." After a pause, his breath suddenly cooled down, which made people feel like falling into the ice cellar. "Now you want to take advantage of the villain to complain first, so I have to punish the princess. Any one of these is a felony." "What felony?" Nanhe felt Yan Beiqing's anger, and the pain in his heart became more and more clear. A stream of gas in his heart rushed out, and he couldn't help saying, "We're not really that kind of relationship. I'm just one of your subordinates who came here to cooperate with you. What's wrong with me to cooperate with you and interpret the fight in the backyard incisively and vividly?" "Cooperate with me?" Yan Beiqing's face sank completely, his lips curled with a cold smile. "Since you say so, I will tell you clearly that she is not only the princess of you, but also my wife and your only daughter. If a murderer is found in the master, he should be punished for his crime. The only mistress, you're your wife." The South Crane suddenly a zheng, can't help but lung of murmur a voice. The brain is like a bang to open generally, the remaining words in the brain. And Yan Beiqing never had cold face. As usual, even if he had no intention of her, he had never been like this. He had the same attitude towards everyone, and she didn't feel so sad. Now he will question him for a woman, blame her for a woman, and be angry with her for that woman. What a competent husband he should be for that woman. But for such a woman who has loved him for many years, how cruel it is. The South Crane one hand tightly grasps own heart place clothes she lapel, pinches the clothes in front of the chest all change the shape. The slender direct nearly will the clothes lapel all poke a hole. It's only a few months. How can it be so fast? What's good about that woman, and what's worse about me? For a long time, Nanhe tried to force the tears back into his eyes. I'm not inferior to her in appearance and talent. Even if I'm inferior to her in martial arts, there are many better than her in other aspects. I've been around you for so many years. Isn't such a me enough to leave a place in your heart? She a pair of reserved eyes at this time dim a lot. Eyes still have water light, but stubborn refused to fall. What's the matter with me? In my eyes, only she is the best. That's enough. The South Crane is so pitiful, but Yan Beiqing doesn't look at it. He just utters words without emotion, and even has no shadow of her in his eyes. The heart, which has been stabbed with thousands of swords, suddenly broke into countless petals, almost choking with pain. Originally, a person does not love you, no matter how good you are, his eyes are without you. Eyes more sour, tears filled the eyes. She quickly raised her head, but tears are down the eyes. In addition to the pain, the hatred in her heart also grew uncontrollably. He had never spoken so harshly to her. All this was brought by that woman. She wished she could destroy that woman's face and cut off her flesh one by one. Only in this way could she be defeated. One day, she will know that woman by herself. What she can't get. He doesn't want to stay with her forever, and everyone doesn't want to have a good time. Thinking about this, Nanhe suddenly raised his skirt and knelt down. His chin was slightly raised, and his look in his eyes was restored to its former lofty and clear. The Lord is right, and all his subordinates recognize it. Please punish them according to the law. Nanhe is willing to be punished. Yan Beiqing didn't answer immediately. His eyes were very deep. He couldn't see what he thought. It was very deep. I said, Brother Beiqing, how can you have the heart to punish such a beautiful girl? If I were you, I'd rather not. It was the silence inside the house when a clear and smiling voice came in from outside. When I look up, I see that Hua Qianlu is walking slowly towards the house with a slow and lazy pace, smiling on his face and shaking his folding fan regularly, just like a white-faced young man who is walking in the garden. Yan Beiqing frowned slightly and looked up at him. Why are you here? At the moment, Yan Moli is still in the mansion, and it is not appropriate for Hua Qianlu to come at this time. Don't worry. No one can see me around. Are you sure you can do my martial arts? Flower Willow Mood is not affected, very leisurely sat down beside him. Brother Beiqing, little beauty Nanhe is infatuated with you. You can write that Taishu refuses to accept it. Now how can you be willing to pay a heavy penalty? Let's make the penalty lighter for the sake of my son. Although the tone is still casual, Yan Beiqing's heart is clear. He is afraid that he will kill Nanhe and make a bad move in his anger. South Crane kneels on the ground. Neither beg for mercy, nor agree, just droop eyebrows. The color of irony in his eyes is very clear, but no one can see it. Hua Qianlu looked at Nanhe and Yan Beiqing, who had no expression on his face. Seeing that both of them didn't speak, he said, Nanhe is wrong, but it's still your people. The punishment is heavy, but it's not good. Anyway, I want to protect this beauty today. Mouth said so, but the eyes did not see the slightest color of pity. I have my own discretion. Yan Beiqing didn't look at him, and his eyes were deep and unpredictable. Nanhe's unforgivable for his murder of his mother. He's thinking about his past achievements and won't be severely punished. Go and get 100 lashes yourself. If you go down with 100 lashes, I'm afraid you'll lose your life. Brother Beiqing, in my opinion, it's better to go down with 80? When Hua Qianlu saw this, she closed her folding fan and continued to plead. She looked like a fox with a smile on her eyes, but there was only one piece of indifference and no pity. Yanbei City is also half moved, voice cold without any emotion. The people around you are not very dedicated, it's time to change, Moling. As soon as the voice fell, Mo Ling flashed out from the dark and knelt down respectfully. What's the Lord's command? Yan North City side head looked at Mo Ling, continued to face expressionless mouth, send people in the East Pavilion to pick a few to send over, then said that the people around the South Crane can't serve well, close several need to change. In this way, it is necessary to monitor her. Nanhe's slender hand, which is hanging down on the skirt corner, tightly grasps the skirt corner, and makes it white between his fingers. In the final analysis, it's not to protect that woman. The Lord is really attentive to her, but she is a dispensable person who can be disposed of at will. Mo Ling looked at Nanhe's thin body but hesitated. Lord, that 100 whip is enough this. If there is a plea, it will be punished at the same time. Yan Beiqing has not yet waited for her to finish, then interrupts directly. Now the status of Mo Shanghua in his heart is extraordinary. He didn't have time to protect her. How can he let her be framed again and again by others? Even if she is not very human, she can always speak. If these troubles were to be solved, he would not be afraid of 10,000. He would not allow the possibility of such things to happen again. He would try his best to level up anything against her. Mo Ling sees this, complexion immediately a Lin. Hang down ahead to come. Is. With that he flashed back. Hua Qianlu didn't intervene at this time. She opened the folding fan again and shook it gently, looking like a play. Although he seems to have feelings everywhere, in fact he is also a very heartless person. If it wasn't for Nanha, he didn't plan to intervene. The South Crane clenched the skirt, slightly relaxed, slightly took a breath, bent down to kneel down, but clenched the lip, did not say a word. Before Yan Beiqing spoke, she got up, turned around and walked out slowly. Her face was paler than when she just went in. There was no one in the house. Hua Qianlu came over with a smile and joked. It seems that your tail is not clean enough. People have come to your house and you live in your house. You can't point out the poison on him. In the future, you have to find Xiaoma Hua to solve it. Yan Beiqing just eased a little, and his face became more and more dark. He was already a turtle in my urn. If it hadn't been for some accidents, I would have come back later, and he would not have had a chance to live to the palace. It's no accident. You're still waiting for him. Flower Thousand Willow lip angle radian more and more big, various schadenfreude appearance. Yan Beiqing turned his eyes and looked at the flower willow. There were no waves or waves in his eyes, but there was a deterrent force in it. The back of the flower willow was cold. Yan Beiqing looked back and lifted his thin lip. But it's good to eat and drink. It's not that I can't afford to raise an idle man in Yuangfu. As for the poison on his body, even if he wants to find a princess for treatment, he needs the princess's consent. Mo Shanghua's identity is how to be robbed. How can she forget such hatred? Even if it is not Mo Shanghua, for anyone, will never give up. Flower willow will fold fan away, rhythmic in the palm of the tap. Is also, with the personality of small Mo flower, don't give him in the next note poison edge is good, more panic cure. Mentioning the flowers on the street, Yan Beiqing's eyes could not help but smile. Although Yan Moli's move is good, he forgot that after all, the mountain is high and the emperor is far away. Even if I can't treat him openly, won't I be next to him? As long as he doesn't die. Flower Thousand Willow clear a smile. If really is the devil high 1 foot, the way high 1 foot, wonderful, really wonderful. Nanha left Yanbei City and went back to his own hospital. Not only did he not get punished for going out during the forbidden period, but he also got the pity of the king. But in fact, after Bingchui, her gentle and soft face immediately faded. Her face changed into a black tie-sleeve dress and a broad cloak. She left the palace quietly and went to the dark guard camp of Yanbei City in Yuzhou City. In fact, it was built in the basement under the martial arts school. The area of the basement is very large, which is almost the same as that of the palace. The people who live in Yuzhou City every day can't imagine that they have been hollowed out a few meters deep under the road they walk and the house they live in. There is a huge and powerful secret guard camp hidden under it. However, this is just the headquarters. This dark guard camp has many branches in other places of Yuzhou. The number of people is comparable to that of a cavalry army. There are different departments in the camp. Each department is responsible for different areas, and the criminal responsibility department is the one that Nanha wants to go to. Mo Ling has long been waiting for the department of criminal responsibility. Seeing that the South Crane is coming, he greets him with a complicated complexion. He purses his lips and doesn't speak. The South Crane's face was as usual, but in the past his whole body's arrogant momentum was frustrated, and he looked very low. She went to Maureen and looked at him. I'll take the punishment. Mo Ling pondered for a while, just nodded. Let's go. The story of Nanha is also a legend in the dark camp. Originally, there were only men in the dark camp, but she was just a vagrant who was picked up by the Lord. She just survived the cruel training, and broke the only woman in the dark camp who could survive the training. Not to mention that, later, she personally led 100 women's secret guards to come out. They were no less outstanding than men in completing the task, and they were very good at taking advantage of their female identity to facilitate the task. Mo Ling originally had some appreciation for Nan He, but Yan Beiqing had already given an order. He would not violate Yan Beiqing's order and show mercy to her because of this appreciation. They went to the person in charge of the Criminal Responsibility Department, and Mo Ling gave a brief explanation, and then signaled to execute the sentence. The people of the Criminal Responsibility Department were surprised to see that Nanha was all over the face. When the director of the department saw this, he couldn't help asking, "How can there be so many 100 lashes? What's the mistake made by Nanha's sister, which made the Lord so angry? Against the mother?" Looking at the state of Nanha today, the man didn't think that Nanha would answer, but he didn't expect that she was so calm, and the amount of information she said was so shocking. All the people around them who heard this sentence widened their eyes, only to find it inconceivable. When do we have a mistress? What's the matter? Why did the Lord suddenly change and find a mother to come back? Sister Nanha has been attached to the Lord for many years. No wonder. In their eyes, this time is the princess's stranger, but the flower is not their mother, their real mother, of course, if Yan Beiqing personally admitted the talent count. All around the people's talk, South Crane eyes also can't help but show a touch of imperceptible hate color, palm tightly clenched. Nothing to do? All down Mo Ling glimpses the Su hand that South Crane clenches, raises head cold voice to scold. The crowd immediately shut up and walked away without saying much. The director of the Department for Criminal Responsibility did not ask any more questions. He turned to the person who was facing him and said, "Come on, get ready." South Crane will hate heart down, clenched hands slowly relaxed, nodded, followed by walk-in. Mo Ling followed. The torture devices inside is like as 2 peas in the prison, and only a few dozen identical boards and whips, and a bench with dark red blood stains. Nan He took off his cloak and found one at random. He grabbed the edge of the bench and said, "Let's go." The people of the Dark Guard camp have always been indifferent. Although they came from the line of life and death together, if Yan Beiqing was there, he would show no mercy and take the whip and wave it down. People trained in the Dark Guard camp will not cry out. Therefore, Nan He grasped the edge of the bench, and his long nails scratched out traces on the edge of the bench, but he didn't shout out, only a dull hum from time to time. After 100 lashes, her black clothes were torn by the long lashes. Her whole body was dripping with blood. Her face was as pale as paper. Her hair was soaked with sweat, and she stuck it on her cheek, which made her even more embarrassed. In this way, it is even difficult to walk, and even more scared to return to the palace quietly. Mo Ling sighed and picked up Nan He's cloak, which he had just put aside. He wrapped it around her and picked her up. Nanha is still conscious, but unable to struggle, so he closes his eyes. He neither opens his mouth nor sleeps. He just quietly closes his eyes. When Mo Ling sent Nan He back to her own hospital, Yuan Er and other close attendants had already been replaced. Only 2 maidservants in green are in the house. They are not surprised to see that Mo Ling has sent people here. They just welcome them up quickly. Maidservant has prepared the best medicine for acne. Just put your wife on the bed. Good. Mo Ling nodded and put the crane on the bed according to his words. Then he flew away from the window without saying much. When the 2 maidservants lifted Nanha's cloak, they were also startled. This punishment is too serious. "Madam, maidservant will take medicine for you first. Later, I'll go back to the king and ask the doctor to come." Nanha closed her eyes and did not speak. No one knew. Her eyes were full of hatred at this time. Today's pain is from the Lord and from the woman. She will always remember it. Now she knew that even if the woman died, there would be no place for her in the Lord's heart. In that case, she would have to separate them. It's life or death. In her heart, she thought crazily. Even the pain brought about by her maidservant's medication seemed to be unconscious, and the corners of her lips tilted slightly with a strange radiance. Did Nan He join in the fun? If I remember correctly, she should have been grounded just like me. Mo Shanghua listens to the news that Qinya has just gone out and sneaked around. Lu Mei can't help frowning. Qinya turned her lips, and her face was not very good. In any case, she couldn't stand being favored. It said that the Lord didn't punish her at all, and he rewarded her with many things. Mo Shanghua Mei Xian is tight CU, soft voice asks. What else? Can you mention the affair of Cloud G? Yenji's affairs had been suppressed for a while, only waiting for the result in the future. If Nanha was interfering with it, it would be more complicated. Although she knew that Yen Beiqing would not move her in consideration of their cooperation, she still had no bottom in her heart because of her love for Nanha. Qin Yaji Mo Shanghua why worry, but still blankly shook his head. This is not clear. After a pause, she raised her eyebrows again, and there was a kind of schadenfreude between her eyebrows and eyes. There was no movement from the Lord, but Mrs. Nan was ill in bed since she went back. The Lord had asked for a doctor, but she didn't seem to see it yet. Well, how can you suddenly get sick? The flower on the street whispered a word, and the color of thinking crossed in her eyes. In this case, unless someone wanted her to be sick. But isn't Yen Beiqing doting on her very much? They have a lot to do with each other. How could that be possible? While thinking about it, the maid outside suddenly came in and said, Princess, the prince is coming. Now you are in the house. Come out to meet you. Mo Shanghua and Qinya were both surprised. They didn't expect that Yen Beiqing would come when they were writing. Surprise to surprise, but the flowers or nodded, get up to go out to meet. I've seen the Lord. Flowers on the road slightly blessing body, eyebrows drooping, not haughty mouth. Get up. Yen Beiqing nodded, directly came forward, took the hand of Mo Shanghua, and said with a smile, Go, I'm going in to talk with you. The tender hands of flowers in the street are wrapped by his generous palm nagging, but she is used to it, and does not struggle. She obediently follows him and enters the house. But as soon as she fell, she drew her hands from the palm of Yen Beiqing's hand. After thinking about it, she said, Why are you here now? I heard that Nanji is ill. Don't you go and have a look? Princess, are you jealous? You can rest assured that there is a part of my heart with you, and I will never abandon you. Yen Beiqing, however, seemed unable to understand the seriousness of her words. Instead, he opened the topic and made a solemn promise. That's not what I mean. She asked in a low voice. Nanji went to see you, and then she got sick. You said, what's wrong with her? How can she open so suddenly? I'm not a doctor. How can I know that? Yen Beiqing shook his head with a blank face. Yen Beiqing refused to explain the reason, and Mo Shanghua didn't plan to ask again. After pondering for a while, he said, Yen Beiqing, I don't want to pay more attention to what you have done, but I hope you don't intervene in Yenji's affair. It's between me and Nanji. If you intervene, it will change the taste. Yen Beiqing looked at her for a long time, and the look in his eyes was treacherous and unpredictable. After a long time, he said with a smile, How can I understand your women's affairs, let alone intervene? As a matter of fact, he did intend to help her, but now her attitude is so firm he might as well follow her. The stone in the flower's heart fell to the ground, picked up the teacup and took a sip of tea, then looked at Yen Beiqing, who was still sitting opposite. What else do you want? Yen Beiqing immediately turned his lips and yelled, I just agreed to compare. That's what you do. It's really a bridge breaking. If all the women in the world are as cruel as you, how can we men live? The flower on the road is tiny to pick, quite of don't approve of, so how? You don't care about Yen Moli now? I remember that he still had a lot of poison on him. If he didn't get rid of the poison in time and died with you, I'm afraid you won't be able to say it in any case. Yen Beiqing touched his nose and his eyes were full of innocence. The poison on the emperor's brother came before he came here. Yuzhou is remote. Where can I find him a famous doctor to help him cure him? If my father must rely on Ben to finish this matter, what can I do except suffer it? You're very generous. On the street the eyebrows and eyes curved a few minutes, looking rather smiling. But if he concealed the poisoning? Yen North City Mao bottom Mo color suddenly a coagulate, seem just will consider this point. Damn, he ignored that. Mo Shanghua saw that Yen Beiqing's expression was different. and the smile between his eyebrows and eyes also disappeared. I remember, he came from the city. I didn't mention the poisoning until yesterday. When I sent the doctor to reply, I didn't mention the poisoning. If it wasn't for mediocre medical skills, it would be. Brother Huang is really calculating. Yinbei City. It's not a dull person. If you think about it a little, you will find out all the reasons. The color of your eyes changes from light to thick, and the ink color is floating in your eyes. Mo Shanghua also gathered her eyes and kept silent, carefully thinking about the advantages and disadvantages of this matter in her mind. After a long time, she raised her head again and leaned back, her hands around her chest. She looked like she was ready to take care of herself. Do you believe in my medical skills? What do you mean? Yan Beiqing's eyes flashed, and he thought about what Mo Shanghua might do in his mind. He thought about it thoroughly, but he was sure. Mo Shanghua, under his deep and secluded gaze, nodded slightly. However, it's up to you to solve my forbidden foot first. Since you want to solve my forbidden foot, Nanji will also solve it together. It's naturally simple. Yanbei City directly accept down. Eyes to restore a deep. Good time to look at the flowers. Then the next step, how do you plan to do? The color of silence in the flower eyes on the street remained unchanged. And the words were very leisurely. Nature doesn't do anything. Yan Beiqing saw the silence in her eyes for thousands of years, as if she had a soul in her heart, and immediately realized, well, that's right. In that case, we might as well do something meaningful. What's the point? Mo Shanghua looks up at him. Eyes color seems to be puzzled. Yen North City Mao inside a faint light delimits. The lip cape is to stir up a touch of mysterious smile. In the puzzled eyes of Mo Shanghua, his body slowly leans forward and approaches her a little bit. Put on the flower not to dodge, just don't understand looking at him a little bit close. When Yan Beiqing's lips were only half an inch away from Mo Shanghua's beautiful cheek, she was able to walk. Later, when he wanted to avoid it, a knock came out of the door. Princess, princess. Then, Qinya's voice came in from the outside. Yan Beiqing suddenly froze in the same place, his face darkened, and his face was rather gnashing teeth. The flower on the street glanced at him with the remaining light, and couldn't help laughing. It was hard to get a smile between her eyebrows and eyes. Outside, Qinya only heard the laughter of flowers in the street, but no one answered. She couldn't help knocking a few more times. Princess, prince, servant Qinya. Yan Beiqing's face became more and more dark, especially the smile on his lips, which made him feel a little angry. Under such shame and annoyance, his eyes were suddenly deep. He turned to his face and quickly kissed the white and delicate cheek of the stranger. Then he quickly moved his body backward, just like a child. He laughed with pride. His always deep eyes were shining at this time. Now the flowers froze. Her whole person is dull. Come down. Good long time, just raise a hand to cover own cheek after knowing. The place that had been kissed was just like the place that had been burned with a hot iron. The porcelain white cheeks were burning red in a flash, and even the roots of the ears were burning. You. She quite some shame annoyed of gouge out Yen North City one eye, but a words have also vomit not to come out. Yan Beiqing's lips turned up in delight, and even Qinya's knock outside the door was very pleasant. Come in. When Qinya came in, she saw that the earlobes of flowers on the street were red, and her heart suddenly became clear. She could not help but covered her lips and laughed. Mo Shanghua was more and more embarrassed and annoyed in her heart, but she straightened her face and said, "What are you laughing at? If you have something to say, you can't be punished if you delay. Princess, you are so angry." Qinya Fei is not afraid of it. Instead, she mumbles with a smile, which attracts a stare from the stranger. Thinking of the people waiting outside, Qinya's smile broke down a little, and her face was not good. Mrs. Ping asked for a meeting outside, saying that she was coming to see the princess. Mo Shanghua Mao inside tiny can't check of skip a touch of displeasure. Even she didn't notice. After pondering for a moment, her eyes fell on Yan Beiqing. Yen North City is very innocently touched to touch nose wing. Does my king have ash on the face? Mo Shanghua didn't answer his words but glanced back. Please come in. His face was calm, and he could not see happiness and anger. Seeing this, Chinya couldn't say anything more. She ordered a second class maid to invite people in. Pingji today wants to lose a special dress, makeup delicate and decent, and wearing a soft pink dress, more pink peach cheek, delicate and lovely. However, even with the cover of the powder, she could still see some slight swelling and unclear 5 fingerprints on her face. As soon as she came in, her eyes first fell on Yan Beiqing Ying Yingfu. I've seen the prince and princess. Yan Beiqing was obviously not interested in her. He just nodded, and then there was no following. He didn't even have any superfluous words. The flower on the street is also as usual pale lukewarm. Get up. Pingji gets up according to her words. She didn't feel embarrassed at all. She said with a smile. The prince is really interested in the 2 sisters. After a while he saw Nanmei and the princess all over. I can't compare the good fortune of my 2 sisters, so I can only come by myself. After a pause, she glanced at Muir on her side and said, my concubine guessed that the king had been working hard all the way, but the breakfast was not good, so she cooked tremella soup specially. You might as well have a taste. Put it here first. Yan Beiqing orders the little table in front of him. After Muir really puts the tremella soup on the little table, he doesn't move. His eyes follow Emo Shanghua all the time. Emo Shanghua also raised his eyes and swept the tremella soup. Looking at Yan Beiqing's eyes, he said, Pingji's craftsmanship is good. I smell it sweet. Pingji's eyes immediately dyed a bit of satisfaction. Maidservant concubine specially for the king and learn, if too bad, also dare not enter the king in front of. Emo Shanghua's face didn't change, but her voice suddenly turned. But when I just heard Chinya's report, it seemed that Pingji came to visit me. I don't know if you can prepare another one for me. It's a calm voice, but it seems to bring endless chill, which makes people feel cold. Pingji's face was stiff and her brain was empty. She didn't know how to respond. As a matter of fact, it was just what she said casually, fearing that Chinya would stop her. She was slapped yesterday. It's too late to hate her, let alone prepare for the flowers. What's the matter with you? But what's the difficulty? You can't make a bowl of porridge? Emo Shanghua didn't let her go, and Qingling's voice rang again. At this point, she just looked at Pingji for no reason. As for the specific reason, maybe it was Pingji's 3 or 4 provocations in the past. Pingji's eyes for help immediately fell on Yan Beiqing, and she went a few steps closer. My lord, I'm just worried about you. It's just a moment of neglect. Strange, the princess didn't do anything to you, but I just want a bowl of soup. Yan Beiqing didn't seem to understand what she was saying, and his face was full of inexplicable color. Pingji suddenly felt cold hands and feet, quickly turned around. Princess, I don't mean that. I'm just in a hurry. What do you mean? I'm a little confused. I don't know what you mean. Emo Shanghua, delicate cheek, the upper half of the emotional fluctuations, light enunciation. Maidservant. Before finishing a sentence, Chinya on one side suddenly said, Princess, Madam Ping always respects you. How can you do something in your name? Don't think much about it. How can this little girl speak for herself? Pingji's heart beat with a faint sense of uncertainty. Before she had time to speak, she heard Chinya say, Princess, do you remember the herbs that Mrs. Ping promised to send you that day? I think Mrs. Ping is here for this matter. Emo Shanghua and Chinya look at each other calmly, and then they understand her meaning in an instant. At the moment, they cooperate with each other very much and say, That's right. Pingji is always indifferent, but she will not do the flattering and disrespectful things as you say. After all, no one can do without the punishment of palm and mouth. Seemingly understatement, but in silent remind Pingji. Pingji nearly broke a silver tooth, and didn't open her mouth for a long time. The master and servant of them had made up their mind to pit her severely, but she was careless and let them take advantage of the loophole. If you want to resolve it, you can only do as they say. But all the herbs on the list are expensive, and the quantity is not small. She came from a bad family. Her family couldn't give her any money at all. She didn't have enough money to buy the herbs in the palace. Kill her, she can't take it out. She can't take it out. Since this bitch doesn't want to make her feel better, she will never make her feel better. Pingji was so hateful that no matter what happened to her, she bit her teeth and knelt down. You can see that, Lord, when you are still here, the princess dares to humiliate her. You can imagine how she and Nanmei come over these days when you are away. Said unexpectedly as covers the mouth nose to whimper. The flower on the street has a slightly coagulated complexion, and there is a touch of cold at the bottom of the eyes, like the ice in the ice and snow, which makes people feel cold. Chinya is even more angry. She is about to argue. Before she comes forward, she is stopped by the flower on the street and uses it. Only 2 people. The voice that could be heard said, "Let's see what flowers she can sing first." Chinya is not willing to stare at Pingji, who is crying, but obedient. Since the princess asked her to see the play, she watched to see if the prince would believe her one-sided words. Seeing that Pingji wiped the tears that did not exist in the corner of her eyes, she choked and continued. "My lord, look at the palm print on my maid's face. This is what the princess ordered yesterday. Xueji is ill." Fearing that she couldn't catch Yan Beiqing's anger, she said. And Nanmei, who was weak and tight, the doctor said that she couldn't bear to be angry. But after the princess returned to the palace, she first got angry with Nanmei in order to control the power of the palace. And then there was Yanji's case. This is also a lingering illness. What's more, which one of them is not the princess but the change of color? I'm afraid the whole palace will not be peaceful if the lord goes on like this for a long time. At this point, on the contrary, she was a bit concerned about the overall situation. Yan Beiqing's eyes were not smiling. He couldn't see the slightest pity for Pingji. According to you, isn't the concubine guilty? If so, it's unforgivable. But if it is not true, the king should not be guilty of anything. Are you sure what you have said is true? Pingji just thought that Yan Beiqing was so convinced. She was very happy and said, "I dare not lie." Yan Beiqing's eyes then turned to the flowers on the street. Compared with the 4 eyes, what they saw was a kind of unfathomable and beautiful ink color in each other's eyes. Although I can't see Yan Beiqing's look, the flower on the street is clear, and there is no doubt in his eyes. It was because of this that she felt a touch of joy in her heart, but it was only for a moment, and she didn't even notice it. I don't know why, clearly can't see 2 people's look. Pingji heart, but without reason a little uneasy, can't help but weigh. Please also make a decision. Good. Yan Beiqing finally opened his mouth, but not according to what Pingji thought. He began to question Mo Shanghua and casually said, "Go and call Xueji, Nanji, and the maids in Pingji courtyard. By the way, if you run into several unrelated maids on the way back, you can call them back at the same time." The boy behind him answered quickly and turned to leave. The rest of Pingji and others are at a loss. Even Chinya is also unknown, so look at the flowers on the street. At first, the flowers on the street were a little confused, but in a flash, the confusion in the eyes was as clear as the wind. Since Yan Beiqing could solve the problem, she simply sat down and drank tea, as if the protagonist of the storm was not herself and had no relationship with herself, which made Chinya worried. Yan Beiqing's intimate boy's action is not slow either. He brought back dozens of maidservants and a few of the boys he met on the road. Most of them met on the road and worked in other places. Dozens of maidservants filled the room, but Yan Beiqing was not impatient. He ordered a maidservant out and said, "I ask you, where are you working?" "Back to the lord. The maidservant is on duty in the dining room." The maid bowed her head respectfully and spoke softly. Yan Beiqing nodded and said, "I'll ask you again. During the days when I was not in the palace, did the princess ever scold you? Or did you ever hear that the princess was too hard on the maids in which court?" The maidservant was stunned for a moment. She didn't seem to expect that Yan Beiqing would ask this question. She subconsciously looked at Mo Shanghua and then said, "Since the princess controlled the palace, the maidservant's food and clothing, including monthly money, are exactly the same as before. Although the princess can't treat them well, it can't be said that it's not good either. Those Lei Li Fengting have only heard of it, and the princess is sitting here. How dare she talk nonsense?" Yan Beiqing said thoughtfully, "Well, that." The maid returned to the line. "Lord this." Pingji heart a jump, can't help but go forward. Now Emo Shanghua is sitting here. She didn't expect that Yan Beiqing would have this skill, and didn't make any preparation. How could these people be the same as her? However, Qinya did not finish his speech. Seized the opportunity to interrupt directly. Mrs. Ping, you'd better not open your mouth just like the princess at this time. If you don't, it's not good to change the girl's opinion and cause gossip. Pingjia choke, originally want to attack, but think of Yin North City here, can only have to shut up. Sooner or later, she will tear the little bitch's mouth and torture her to death. Yan Beiqing's inquiry was not interfered by them at all. After the maidservant went back, he said in a loud voice, "Which one is on duty in Xueji courtyard?" Back to the lord, the maidservant is waiting for Mrs. Xue. Two maidservants in second-class dress came out of the line, looking rather nervous. It's said that Xueji is ill. What's wrong with her? Can you ask the imperial doctor to see it? What does it have to do with the princess? Back to the prince, Mrs. Xue was in an emergency that night. There was no doctor on duty in the government that night. The sister who was close to the lady invited the princess. However, the princess just looked at it and didn't prescribe medicine. The next day, she went to the doctor to see it and prescribe medicine. It didn't matter, but it wasn't all right. After a pause, another maid said, "If the lord is free, you might as well go to see his wife. She doesn't say it, but she is still worried about him." "I'll talk when I'm free." Yan Beiqing answered casually, and then ordered the servant girl to come out. He asked the same question, and answered the same as the two maids in front of him. Yan North City Mao Guang once again dyed the color of a smile, turned his eyes and looked at Pingji. "Pingji, if as you said, the lord really treats everyone in the house, why their words are completely different from what you said?" "My lord, the princess is sitting here at the moment. She usually governs the house with ruthless methods. These are a group of cheap people. How dare she tell the truth?" Pingji pinched her palm and tried to keep calm. Emo Shanghua, who had been watching the play quietly, just glanced at her, and her voice was calm and calm. "Even Pingji, you all know that when you need the lord, you should stab me. If these people really resent me, why don't you just testify? You know, if so many people testify together, even if I finally fall down, I'm afraid I can only blame the public for the law. If I fall down, there's no chance of turning over." Pingji's face turned blue and she bit her teeth. She retorted, "Even so, what's the credibility of the words of a group of slaves? Who knows if they are talking nonsense under tension? This is even more wrong." Emo Shanghua interrupted calmly. "These people are all summoned by the Lord's temporary intention. First, they don't have the time arranged in advance. Second, they are not threatened by others. They don't do bad things. Why should they be afraid of the ghost knocking on the door? This sentence is the same for you flat G done when a choke. Eyes immediately gush out a few minutes hate color." She thought that she was useless, so she pulled out Nanji, but how could she think that Yan Beiqing was so protective of Emo Shanghua that she didn't even ask Nanji? Yan Beiqing saw the look in her eyes thoroughly, and the light and mocking color in her eyes did not hide. "Pingji, I don't ask much about the palace. It's my nature to like freedom, not stupidity. You'd better play less in the future." Wang Yi. Pingji pretty face white a few minutes, legs a soft kneel down. "Since you like to gossip with one mouth, you can ban it for 1 month." Before he finished his sentence, Yan Beiqing interrupted directly, obviously not interested in listening to her. 50? Pingji's eyes widened in an instant, full of disbelief. Yesterday's injury is now just barely good in 50, how can her face get? Before I had time to plead for mercy, the flower on the other side added leisurely, "By the way, I have another medicine prescription sent to you a few days ago. Later, I will send someone to take the medicine list and get it from you." Pingji's face turned very white. She quickly knelt to the foot of Yanbei City, tugged at his hem and begged for mercy. "My lord, I'm just confused for a moment. I didn't mean to do this to the princess. You've got to go around me. I know I'm wrong." It's pitiful to say so in tears. Yan Beiqing, however, was not moved and his face sank. "If the king indulged you this time, wouldn't people dare to bully the princess like you in the future? I want to let everyone in the house know that although the princess has come all the way and has no family to protect her, I am her strongest backing, and I will always protect her. Come on, take it down now. The sentence, I am her strongest backing, is like a huge stone into the water, which makes everyone here shocked. They all know that the prince dotes on the princess, but they never expect that he has reached such a level, which even Mrs. Nan never had. Even Mo Shanghua himself is also slightly surprised. Mao Guang complex looked to Yan Beicheng. Pingji completely stayed down, until she was taken down. She suddenly recovered, but she was no longer pleading and crying, and let two powerful women take her down. In addition to being shocked by this incident, she thinks that today's incident is that she is too anxious to avenge the past few days. Otherwise, she would never have been. You are all scattered. You don't have to wait here. Qinya quietly looked at the look of the flowers on the street. Xinjuan pursed her lips and snickered. Then she drove the people in the house away with a straight face, and she quickly stepped back. There were only 2 people left in the room, and the atmosphere gradually solidified. Why have you been dumped by me again? Flowers on the road. Without speaking, Yan Beicheng was not embarrassed, as if he had never said anything before. Mo Shanghua's eyes were tiny, but the color flickered slightly. Subconsciously, he avoided his eyes. It's okay, but I'm tired. I don't want to talk much. You can go and sit elsewhere. With that, she just got up. Just before entering the bedroom, she stopped for a while, but it was only a moment. After a while, she resumed her nature and continued to walk in. In a flash, there was only one person left in the house. He looked at the direction of the flower bed hall on the street, and his lips gently rose uncontrollably. The ink in his eyes was beautiful, and he could not see what he really thought. After a while, he took out a porcelain vase from his sleeve, put it on the small table, and got up to leave. In North City walked for a while time. Mo Shanghua just walked out from the bedroom. She looked at the place Yan Beicheng had just made for a while, and then fell on the small porcelain vase. Consciousness takes it up. The body of the porcelain bottle is pure white, and there is no label on it to indicate what it is. Mo Shanghua simply opened the bottle stopper and smelled it, but she sniffed it lightly, and then she analyzed the ingredients of the drug in an instant. Hongfeng Lingji, Yanjiao. The properties of these drugs are combined, and should be used to solve certain properties. I think this is the antidote of Yan Moli's poison. The poison in Yan Moli was really related to him. It seems that Yan Moli's visit to Yuzhou also violated the interests of Yan Beicheng, and there was a certain confrontation between them. However, it seems that Yan Moli didn't get a bargain. In addition to these, what she is more curious about now is the poison. She took Yan Moli's pulse that day. This poison is not ordinary poison at all. It's almost the same as what she usually matches. If she wants to solve it, she'll have to waste some time. Even when Yan Beicheng began to accept such a person, if he had the chance, he really wanted to. In these 2 days, Yan Mo's behavior was as usual. He accepted the maidservant arranged by Mo Shanghua, and the doctor who came to treat him. He cooperated with the treatment very well. Everything is very normal, even without contact with the outside world. A look of peace of mind. As for what the maidservant who was sent by Mo Shanghua saw, even Mo Shanghua didn't know. It's doubtful that she didn't let them come back to report for the time being. However, Mo Shanghua has ordered the news outside. Let Yan Moli know what he should know. Therefore, today's matters of urine and urine in the palace are exactly in Yan Moli's ears. Such as Princess Mo Shanghua, how much she is loved now. Yan Beicheng dotes on her, and so on. Although Yan Moli listened, he had no waves on his face, but he laughed in his heart. If Yan Beicheng is really pretending to be a pig and eating a tiger, don't you know in his mind that the flower on the street can also be regarded as the emperor's spy on him? In this way, how can he really like the flowers on the street? At most, the two are just cooperative relations. And it's a kind of mutual defense. A little provocation can lead to problems. Thinking of this, he couldn't help scratching a meaningful color in his phoenix eyes. He was constantly calculating the feasibility of this matter and the benefits he could get. Before I thought about it for a long time. The wound on my chest suddenly became extremely painful, like the pain of being gnawed by millions of mice. Yen Mo Li Jian eyebrow slightly twitched, thin lips tightly into a straight line, but can't see too big emotional fluctuations. The bodyguard behind him noticed this, and his face changed slightly. He came near and lowered his voice and said, "Your Highness, but it's happening again?" Yen Mo Li nodded, also lowered his voice and said, "Step back, don't show your flaws here." There was a strong sense of forbearance in his voice, as if this sentence had taken a lot of effort. Then he went back to his room without saying a word. Seeing this, the bodyguard went to a maid and said in a low voice, "Your Highness should take a nap first. You'd better prepare lunch. You'd better wake up and use it." Yes. Yen Mo Li took a lunch break at this time these days, and then he got up to eat breakfast and read books. Therefore, without any doubt, the maid answered the question directly and stepped down. Yen Mo Li to no one else's bedroom. The body will be a soft, sitting on the edge of the bed. The face of the color of pain gradually emerged. If the wound was not on the pain, so that his brows will not be controlled tightly together, the amount of tendons burst up, but also full of sweat. Around as so, he still forced to endure. A sound of pain did not send out. When the bodyguard came in, he could not help but silence when he saw this scene. He could only stand by and accompany him in silence. The pain lasted for a long time before it disappeared. At that time, his whole body was almost soaked with sweat, and his hair was very sticky on his cheek. Seeing this, the bodyguard dares to come forward, carefully unties Yen Mo Li's clothes, and then takes apart the gauze that wraps the wound layer upon layer to check the wound. I saw a part of the wound that should have been healed, but there was no sign of improvement at this time. The skin was still turning outward, and a small amount of blood adhered to it. It looked like a fresh wound. However, because of the poisonous hair, the wound began to bleed again, and it was still easy to stop. Otherwise, it would be fatal if the blood flow continued. The bodyguard skillfully took out a porcelain vase from his sleeve, sprinkled it on the wound, and then bandaged it up. "Your Highness, your poisonous hair has become more and more frequent recently. If the wound is not healing, I'm afraid it will be infected and rotten." The guard frowned and worried. Yen Mo Li Mao inside flits over a few minutes tyrannical, implicit have exasperation of sign. This trip is really to compensate Madam again fold soldier, really hateful. Then there was a long silence. The bodyguard caught a glimpse of the irritability in his eyes. He had already closed his mouth and didn't dare to say much. For a long time, the tyranny in his eyes gradually returned to calm, and the sweat-soaked hair on his face also returned to dryness. His thin lips moved gently, slowly spitting out a few words, "Plan ahead of time. Mo Shanghua just had dinner here," and the maid who was waiting on Yen Mo Li came to her and asked her to come. It is said that after eating lunch, Yen Mo Li's wound became extremely colic, and even the healed wound broke open again. The most terrible thing was that he vomited blood at his mouth and looked haggard. When the flowers arrived, Yanbei City had already arrived for a while. At that time, he was looking at the maid kneeling on the ground with an angry face. The doctor said angrily, "You'd better explain to the king where the poison in the food of the second emperor brother comes from. If not, the king will take off all your heads and bury the second emperor brother with you." "Lord, calm down. The flowers on the street are facing the blessing of Yanbei City. A worship," low voice advised A. "Brother Huang is still lying in it, and the murderer has not been found. How can I calm down?" Yan Beiqing's anger did not abate, and his voice was gloomy. "You have to find it slowly. Now your second highness's body is very important." Mo Shanghua gently put his hand on Yan Beiqing's shoulder to comfort him. "By the way, is Dr. Lu coming? It's been a long time since I went back to the princess." One of the maidservants who was waiting for her came out to respond. As soon as the words were heard, the green bead curtain inside was lifted. Lu Zheng came out with a medicine box and bowed down in front of Hua Yanbei City. "Don't be so polite. First of all, what's the matter with your brother?" Yan Beiqing waved his hand, and the sentences were all very fast because of worry. However, it seems to worry about the depths of the eyes, but a Wang indifference, no half temperature. Lu Zheng's eyebrows and eyes drooped, and his face was also heavy. Lord Hui, the poison has been temporarily controlled, but it has not been completely removed. Because of limited medical skills, I'm afraid I can't eradicate the poison for His Second Highness. Seeing this, the flower on the street frowned slightly. Even Dr. Lu can't cure it. What's the poison? It's so powerful. Yen North City cold hame, complexion black heavy, regardless. What kind of poison is it? If you dare to poison the king's brother under the king's eyes, if you find out who it is, you will die without a burial place. Lord, don't be too excited. It's better to look for the murderer later. Now the most important thing is the poison. The flower on the street opens its mouth at the right time, and its words are generous and appropriate. Yen North City complexion is just relaxed a few, don't talk much, obviously is to hand over the affair to Mo Shanghua. Seeing this, Mo Shanghua did not refuse and asked, Your Second Highness is awake now. How long has he been poisoned? What? When will it happen again? Lu Zheng lowered his head and eyes and said, Princess Hui, Your Second Highness has awakened. According to Wei Qin, the time of the attack should be irregular. When the attack happens, it will destroy the scab on the wound and make it impossible for the wound to heal. The process is even more painful. It's completely poisonous. It should be 4 days later. If there is no treatment at that time, the wound will fester and the high fever will not subside until death. It is the same as the death caused by wound infection. After a pause, he felt puzzled. As for the poisoning time, it's reasonable to say that it's not only a problem at noon today, but also the food today has been poisoned. It can't be another day. However, the pulse just now seems to show that His Highness has been poisoned for some time. How is that possible? On the street, the center of the eyebrows is tighter, and the face is full of disbelief. On the front of Lu's face he was puzzled and said, I'm also surprised. The poison found in the meal is the same as that found by Your Highness. It should be good today, but... Do you mean that Your Highness has been poisoned somewhere else, but he wants to come here to cheat you? A language is not over. Has been following in Yen Mo Li's side close protection bodyguard suddenly came out, cold voice question. Seeing this, Mo Shanghua immediately stood up to help explain. Why is this bodyguard so excited? Imperial Dr. Lu is just confused, but he doesn't dare to be sure. Maybe it's because His Highness's poison is too severe, so there are some misdiagnoses. Misdiagnosis is such a big stain on a doctor. If the general doctor is said like this, he will be very angry for a long time. But the front color of the willow is as old as before, and the eyebrows and eyes are buried lower. The poison in the Second Highness is really rare, and I have never heard of it. In this way, it can also be regarded as an indirect recognition of the words of Mo Shanghua. The cold color on the bodyguard's face was relieved. It's not as cold as it was just now. The anger on Yen Beiqing's face also reduced a lot at this time. He didn't wrinkle tightly. You don't want to take care of your brother. How did you come out? But what's the matter with your brother? The bodyguard nodded and his voice was flat. Your Highness wants you to go in and say that he wants to know what his poison is, and the person who poisoned him. Your Highness also wants to see who it is. But it's not suitable for so many people to go in now. Your Highness should have a good rest at this time. Lu Zheng as a doctor, timely mouth dissuade. Your Highness said that the body is his own body. He has his own sense of propriety, and does not need to be talked about by others. When the bodyguard saw this, he was cold again. Lu Zheng choked and said nothing. Mo Shanghua took a look at Yen Beiqing, who was still sitting on the seat, and said, Lord, let's go and have a look first according to the Second Highness. Brother Wangzi is more than ever. Although Yen Beiqing said so, he got up and went in with Hua Lujing and others. At this time, Yen Moli only wore a thin tunic, and his face was very white. As soon as he saw the flowers coming in, he stood up and said, Brother Huang's sister-in-law cough. Without saying a word, he clenched his fist slightly and coughed softly. Yen Beiqing sat down on the low stool beside him and said in a low voice, Brother Huang, it's better to talk less now. You can rest assured that the person behind you who poisons you will not be let go and will be punished severely. We know what you mean. This is what happened in your house. In that case, we will give you the whole task of investigating the real murderer. Yen Emoli language temperature and don't see half-cent anger. Just this temple now more want to know this poison. In the end there is no solution. It's a question that doctors can answer, but he focuses on Yen Beicheng. Yen Beicheng only did not see, but turned his eyes to Lu Zheng. Lu was embarrassed and hesitated for a long time. Then he said, "The medical skill of Wei Chun is shallow. I really don't have a clue about this poison. Please, Your Highness. The Lord has made a plan." There was a long silence in the room, which was broken by Yen Beicheng's rage. "How can there be no solution? I tell you, if you can't cure your brother, don't take this head." It's true can't help but make complaints about the smile in his eyes. He frowned on his eyes and frowned. "Don't be angry, Wang Yi." Cough. Yen Emoli coughed again, and his voice became more and more weak. "Brother Huang, it's really not the doctor's business. It's just life and death. But if I really can't survive here, I'm afraid that my father will be investigated and you will be involved. That's my fault." It seems that the words of self-blame and worry are not threats? Yen Beicheng's eyes were cold, but his face was not changed. "Brother Huang, don't worry. I can't find a good doctor for you. The people in the imperial city are outstanding. I think there must be someone who can solve this poison." Yen Emo spilled a bitter smile on his lips, as if he had no hope. After a few seconds of silence, he suddenly thought of something and said, "Although it's only 2 days since I lived in the palace, many people in the palace say that the princess's medical skill is so good that even the dying can be easily saved. Now I'm no different from the dying. Why don't you try it? I know some simple medical skills, but it's not as miraculous as the one passed down by my highness. The poison in his highness is extraordinary. I dare not try it rashly. Please change to a credible and convenient person." On the street, the perianth points to eyebrow center with naked eye speed light twists once, seem to be unwilling. The words that say is extremely appropriate. Because of their enmity in the imperial city, Yen Moli had long expected that the flower in the street would have a bad heart and would not help him with diagnosis and treatment. But Emo Shanghua is the most likely person to get the antidote in Yen Beicheng. He has to be her. Thinking of this, he took the corner of his lip with a wry smile. "You have come to this field, so you should treat the dead horse as a living horse doctor." The flower eyes on the street deliberately let out a reluctant color and continued to refuse. "Your Highness, to tell you the truth, it's not that I don't want to be treated, but if I really want to be treated, the things and people involved behind are too wide. If the treatment is not good, I'm afraid I will inevitably be involved. I really can't and dare not. Can you tell me alone?" Yen Emoli, a pair of weak but not strong eyes, looking at the flowers for a long time. "Although I was looking at the flowers in the street, I was talking to Yen Beicheng." Yen North City also obviously hesitated for a while. The black color in the eye is deep thick. Yen Emoli didn't urge, just cover lips, light cough. Complexion is very painful appearance. Seeing this, Yen Beicheng stood up and said, "Since your brother invited you, you can have a chat with him, and everyone else will step down." As he spoke, he took the lead in walking away, and all the people in the house, including the bodyguard who had been protecting Yen Moli, also stepped down. "Sit down." Yen Moli sat up in his clothes, and his face was as pale as before, except that his face was still pale. Emo Shanghua obviously didn't like to stay with Yen Moli. He didn't even want to sit down. "Your Second Highness should know that I'm a wife. It's against the rules for you and me to get along alone. To avoid suspicion, I'd better stand. Since you like it, we don't demand it." Yen Mo gave a gentle smile, "A good way to speak. I heard that you have had some attainments in medical skills in recent months in Yuzhou, but everyone in the palace is praising you. It's only a few months. Even with high talent, it's impossible to be a real dead man. The flower on the street is slightly astringent, with light complexion. The seemingly peaceful atmosphere. In fact, the two have been silent confrontation once. Of course the royal palace can't, but it should be able to bring down grain." Yen Moli, a pair of narrow phoenix eyes, quietly staring at the flowers on the street. The skin does not smile. As soon as this sentence came out, The atmosphere in the air seemed to stick together with the falling of this sentence. Two people line of sight in a hurry to meet for a moment. Mao-Jiueng all is calm deep you. Mutually hope not in the end. For a long time, the flower on the street just took back her eyes. Still in an Enron state? It's a rare thing that hasn't been found for many years. I'm afraid it can't be found easily now. Now that I'm poisoned, I'm in danger at any time. You and I might as well spread it out. However, Yin Moli suddenly changed his tone and opened his mouth very frankly. I know Jianghe is in your hands now, and I know how you got it from that fool. Although we don't like such means, we are now in danger of our lives. If we can exchange our lives with them, even if we threaten them, we will not hesitate to do so. He was the man of that day. Mo Shangmao, color from light to thick, voice slightly heavy. So what? Your Highness, don't you forget that this time is different from the past. I'm not the poor woman whose identity was taken away from me in the past. Yen Mo's lips were slightly crooked and his smile was treacherous. Although Wu Cheng was a fool, he lost such a big business. Do you really think that Wu family would give up so easily? It's not easy to provoke people who live in the long house of the Wu family. After a pause he added, by the way, I forgot to tell you that the gold Wu Cheng received that day was stolen after he went back. He can't hide this. How could he send someone to steal back the gold he spent? Mo Shanghua never thought that Yin Moli had been shameless to this point. Even so, she said, even if it leaks out, I don't have to be afraid of them. After all, they are from neighboring countries. Do they dare to be presumptuous in my court? If so, Your Highness will not allow it. You've got a lot of spirit now. Yin Moli is not angry, but sincerely praised. The flowers on the street look light and unmoved. From her previous memory, she knew that Yin Moli was such a mild and normal person, but in fact he was insidious and cunning. It was common for her to set traps by words. When she got along with such a person, she had to keep away from them all the time. Seeing that the flowers on the street were speechless, Yin Moli continued. It's just one thing to be bold, and another thing to be realistic. Now you have a bad reputation in Yuzhou, and it seems that you are not so good in the palace. If the people who are hostile to you in the imperial city know it, and join in the name of immorality, your position as the princess will not be guaranteed. In fact, Mo Shanghua didn't care about the position of the princess, but now she always wanted to cooperate with Yen Mo, so she deliberately coagulated her face and frowned slightly. Seeing this, Yen Mo glanced at the bottom of his eyes and said, what's more, if the temple can't be treated in time, something really happens in Yuzhou. No matter whether it is related to the North City or not, he will be implicated. You husband and wife are one. If he is implicated, you will inevitably suffer with him. The flowers on the street gather their eyes, long eyelashes droop, and thin eyebrows become more and more tight as time goes on. It seems that they are engaged in a strong ideological struggle. At this point, Yen Moli was not anxious, and he took a cup of tea from the desk and drank it gracefully. But I don't know, in the eyelashes of the flowers on the street, they are quietly passing through a few points of light mockery. After a while, she seemed to think clearly. She looked up and said, Your Highness's means are really more and more brilliant. It seems that I have no choice now. Yen Moli's bloodless lip is slightly hooked. He seems to be in a good mood. This is the way to win each other. We also know that you are really different from the past. Now you should also know who is worthy of cooperation, and whether the person you have been trusting these days is really trustworthy. What does Your Highness mean by that? The flower on the street has a coagulated complexion, and the eyes are a little puzzled. Yen Moli's face was dark and unpredictable, and his voice was calm. We have just said that husband and wife are one. Although this is true, there is another sentence. I don't know if you have heard it. Mo Shanghua sneers at the bottom of his heart, but his face is still in a state of incomprehension. That is, the husband and wife are birds in the same forest, and they fly separately in the face of disaster. Yen Moli looked at the flowers on the street and said, Just now, Beiqing asked you to leave the meaning of talking with me alone. I think you also understand it. In this way, he wants to tell Mo Shanghua that Yin Beiqing is just using her. No matter what feelings they have, as long as they are mixed with interests, they will never go on like this forever. Who knows when they will have to turn against each other because of their interests. In Yan Mo Li's gaze, Mo Shanghua's eyes were completely dark, and he pursed his lips slightly, not knowing what he was thinking. Yan Mo Li lip angle radian not reduced but increased, the teacup back to the table, Yang Xingwei. Come on. As soon as his voice fell, his bodyguard came in. If you go to send a message to the emperor's younger brother, you will say that the princess has agreed to treat our temple. For the time being, you don't need to look for 4 famous doctors. You can only trace the person who poisoned behind the scenes. Yan Mo Li Mao bottomed slightly over a little self-confidence, just like a king who controls the whole situation. Light command. The bodyguard nodded and turned back. Yan Mo Li stretched out his wrist and nodded to the flowers on the road. Please. Mo Shanghua stood still for a while, then moved to the front of collapse, put his fingers between his wrists, closed his eyes and felt his pulse. How? After a while, Yan Mo asked. Mo Shanghua took back his fingertips from Yan Mo's wrist, and his face had recovered. In 4 days, I will develop an antidote. As for the injury, we can only wait for further treatment after detoxification. We have faith in your medical skills. Yan Mo Li nodded, eyes deep color, quite some meaningful meaning. Mo Shanghua looks at him indifferently, then turns around directly, as if staying here for a while. She is not happy to the extreme. She just went out, and the bodyguard followed. Your Highness, do you really believe her? Yan Mo's lips were slightly crooked and his eyes were dark. Naturally, I don't believe it, but I believe that she has a way to get the antidote from Yan Beicheng. Even if she doesn't have it, she also has Jianghe in her hand. Isn't your Highness afraid of her poisoning? The guard frowned and worried. Yan Mo Li shook his head, faces full of self-confidence. If the temple left after another poison, she can't get rid of the relationship. Your Highness is thoughtful and I admire him. Princess, what did your Second Highness say to you? Why did you agree to help him heal? I always think it's not so simple. Now you're in trouble. Qinya poured a cup of tea over. Lu Mei all straightened into a ball, worried. It's not something I can control. Whether I want to or not, I have to get involved. The color of flowers on the street is light, not half worried, and there is no reluctant state just before Yan Mo's face. Yan Mo Li's move has long been underway. No matter how she wants to deal with it, she can't help but treat it. Instead of being forced to come to the hospital by him, she had better go into the urn and play the play with him. And Yan Mo Li thinks he is a stranger. Yan Beicheng enters his wang, but he is already in their chessboard. Qinya knelt down in front of the flowers on the street with her chin in her hand. I don't know what's superfluous, but what I'm worried about now is, can you really grasp it? Dr. Lu said today that he could not. Mo Shanghua raised her hand and gently touched her eyebrows. She said angrily, You don't believe my medical skills? Qinya covered her eyebrows and begged for mercy. I'm not worried. If I really say that, I don't believe your medical skills. I'm afraid it's more than enough to be a miracle doctor. Mo Shanghua pursed her lips and smiled. It seems that she has left the matter behind. You're a little girl. You're so poor. Qinya spits out her tongue and turns her eyes. Princess, Dr. Lu is out to see you. The maid's voice began to ring outside the door. Come in, please. When Lu Zheng came in, Qinya was standing on one side. Seeing him come in, he got up and went out. Sit down, please. The flower on the street pointed to the position opposite him, with a calm tone. Lu Zheng said thanks before he sat down. Is this trip for Yanji? Mo Shanghua poured a cup of tea for her, but she asked herself. Yanji's chest injury is much better now. After some time, if the wound is scarred, I will start to treat it. The specific treatment in my heart has been counted now. As for the herbs I need, I will come to you if I need them. Lu Zheng shook his head when he heard her talking so freely. Not for that. The eyebrows on the street are slightly frowning, slightly unexpected. After pondering for a long time, Lu Zhengkai said slowly. I have some opinions about the poison in your second highness. I want to tell you that it may be useful for you to develop an antidote. Dr. Lu has his own opinions, so let's talk about them. Lu Zheng has his own opinion, but it's not a surprise to see flowers on the street. After all, although Lu Zheng's medical skills are different from her, it is only because of the limitations of this era. If we only talk about traditional Chinese medicine, we can say that it is not different from her. Today he would say that he didn't know how to treat it, but it was Yan Beiqing's advice. Lu Zheng nodded, and his face became rigorous. According to today's pulse, the second highness has been poisoned for some time, but fortunately it's not long. It's not difficult to untie it. According to the symptoms at the time of poisoning, we may use Hongfeng, Ganoderma lucidum Yanjiao. Listen to the name of a series of medicinal materials in Lu Zheng's mouth, but the color of flower eyes on the street is slowly coagulating. These are the ingredients Yan Beiqing gave her today? This poison is unusual. If Lu Zheng really saw it for the first time, he would never have said the ingredients of the antidote so accurately. Even if she had to go back and study for a few days, she could work out the antidote. How could Lu Zheng study it for the first time? In fact, he has always been a member of Yan Beiqing? With this idea in her heart, she can't help looking at Lu Zheng's expression. Finally, add Poria cocos and take it as a pill, or you may be able to detoxify it. Lu Zheng didn't find the exploration of flowers on the street, and continued to talk with his face unchanged. Until he finished, he later found that Mo Shanghua's look was different from that of the past, and his eyes were shining. However, in an instant, his face soon recovered as usual, as if he didn't notice her inquiry. If you don't have these herbs, you can hand them over to Wei Chun, who will help you collect them. He didn't want to say anything. He had his own reason. He didn't want to break the balance, so he nodded faintly. I've written down what you just said. I'll start from this aspect later. It's not urgent to deal with medicinal materials. After a pause, her eyes were sincere and she said in a soft voice, "Thank you very much. I always come to help when I have problems." For a doctor, it's a matter of pride to be able to cure a person with difficult and complicated diseases. Wei Chen is just a doctor's instinct, and the princess doesn't have to care too much. Lu Zhengwei droops his eyes and his voice is clear and gentle. You always helped me anyway, and I'll remember. Mo Shanghua shakes her head, and does not take Lu Zheng's words for granted. No one has the right to accept the help of others with ease. Since she has accepted the love of others, she should always remember that she will repay the love when she has the chance. If the princess is really upset, she will be a micro-minister and treat you as a friend. There is no need to thank her friends. Lu Zheng's lips are light, and his cheeks are more and more warm. Friend. Mo Shanghua whispered for a long time, and then he said with a smile, "That's right. You and I are the only confidants in the mansion." Since she came to this world, only Lu Zheng can talk to her about medicine. Lu Zheng's eyes were slightly bright, and it seemed that there was floating light. After a long time he stood up again. "I think you will be very busy these days, Wei Chen. I don't want to disturb you. You need to send someone directly to let me know." Since he is a friend, he is unavoidably unfamiliar with Wei Chen. He hesitates and changes his name. Mo Shanghua really didn't mind. She also got up and said, "Okay, Qinya, send Lu Imperial Doctor out." "Yes." Qinya answered at the door and opened the door. "Dr. Lu, this way please." Lu Zheng dropped his head and walked away with a smile. Seeing off Lu Zheng, Mo Shanghua is not in a hurry to do something. After all, she has an antidote in her hand now, so there's no need to be anxious. These days, she can calm down and continue what she was doing. However, before that, she called Qinya over again, handed over a prescription and said, "Take this prescription to Pingji and ask her to bring the prepared herbs." Qinya took the prescription and casually looked at the contents. Now, unlike in the past, she had been given the Mo Shanghua to her for a long time. She knew the contents. In addition, "I am familiar with these herbs." She couldn't help laughing. "Princess, your prescription is really wonderful. Want to come to Pingji, see maidservant go to beg. Must be angry 7 tips smoke." Mo Shanghua lips slightly yang, the same excellent mood. Since she likes to give me fine not happy, I naturally can't let her refreshing. It's exactly this principle. You can rest assured. Even if you empty Mrs. Ping's place, I will bring back this medicine. Chinya smiles, eyebrows and eyes curved. Sha is excited, blessing body, go in high spirits. Mo Shanghua believes in Chinya's ability to handle affairs. Seeing her go, she gets up and goes to see Yanji's current situation. The maid who takes care of Yanji doesn't dare to be careless at all. Therefore, Yanji's service is excellent. Yanji doesn't play around anymore recently. She just sits on the bed and mumbles to herself with a dull look. Mo Shanghua covered her face and went in to give Yanji a pulse. Seeing that there was nothing abnormal, she ordered her maid to continue to take good care of her life. Then she went back to her room and continued her previous research and development of Jianghe. The last night's research has begun to show its features, and today's research is much simpler. Therefore, Chinya dares to report back after he comes back. Mo Shanghua sees Chinya's high-spirited appearance. Thinking that it's not the most important day, she puts down her things for the time being and looks up at her. How about it, but it's back? That's nature. Qin Yazhong nodded his head with a smile on his face. Mrs. Ping was not willing at that time, but the maidservant was not a vegetarian, so she moved out the previous words of the Lord, but Pingfu was very popular. The wood looked at the maidservant as if she was going to eat the maidservant. After that, was Pingji making trouble? Mo Shanghua supported her jaw with a pen and opened her mouth with great interest. With Wang Yi and you, Mrs. Ping has to compromise even if she doesn't want to. Chinya's lips are slightly tilted, and her hands and feet are excited. Mrs. Ping didn't make any preparations at all, so she had to let Mu-Er go shopping. As a result, she didn't have enough money. She came back to get it again. In the end, she couldn't get it out, so she took out all the gold and silver jewelry and said it was for the princess. With that, she turned around and clapped her hands with a smile. All the maidservants came in with trays. Each tray is full of medicinal materials wrapped with oil-absorbing paper. A tray should have 6 bags, a total of 4 trays, and a maid holding a dressing box, which seems to have some weight. Chinya took the jewelry box over, opened it, and put it together in front of Mo Shanghua. Princess, you see, this is probably all Mrs. Ping's property. All of them are gold and silver ornaments, as well as some jade articles. Some of them are of high value, and some of them are of ordinary texture. On the whole, they are a lot of wealth. It's not surprising that Pingji has been in the palace for many years, and she can save these things. These I'm afraid Pingji is reluctant to take the initiative to send it out anyway. Your skills are really getting better today. Save half a lifetime of things, Pingji's character will easily hand over. Mo Shanghua is how also don't believe. Now, it's really rare that Chinya has the ability to let Pingji take it out. Kinyashui Yingying eyes blinked, a pair of innocent fays. Maidservant can be the princess, you teach by example. Mo Shanghua laughs and closes the jewelry box. Since you got it, you can keep it all. As for these medicinal materials, they are all put here. Yes. Chinya shouts, then asks people to put things down and goes out. Seeing that there was no one at the moment, Chinya could not help but cover her lips and smile again. Princess, you don't know. When the maidservant went, Pingfu had just slapped his mouth, and his whole face was swollen into a pig's head. He kept talking softly. It seemed that he was in great pain. It's good to see if she dares to go down the drain in the future. You are so fierce now. With you, I don't have to deal with her myself in the future. Mo Shanghua's lips are slightly crooked, joking happily. Chinya couldn't help but take a look at the stranger and said with a smile. The princess has been making fun of her maidservant all day long. I'm afraid that the maidservant's confidence is going to be destroyed. That's not laughing. With that, the flower on the street actually gathered a smile. By the way, I wrote a letter to call Qinlin back 2 days ago. Now it's almost time. What brother is back? Chinya Dun exclaimed in surprise, his eyes shining. Mo Shanghua nodded and said, I've already sent another person from where I'm in charge in Wujuan. Naturally, your brother can come back. You can go to Pianmen now. Maybe you've arrived. Thank you, princess. Qinya immediately jumped up, put the jewelry box directly on the table, and ran out after a quick blessing. It's really hard to keep such a lively disposition with a boring person like her. Mo Shanghua sighed a little in his heart, and then sorted out the things on the table by himself, and then went on with what he was doing. Soon, how to use jianghe as a medicine to prepare a prescription for the treatment of congenital aphasia and deafness. Mo Shanghua began to study it, and began to prepare it. And in terms of medicinal materials, in addition to jianghe, there is no need to worry about others. Some of the medicinal materials she got from Pingji are enough. 2 days have passed since the promise of the antidote, and 2 days have passed since the flower on the street was shut up. She didn't even listen to Qin Lin's report to Wu County. She asked him to report back when she was free. This day, she finally put the things in hand and called Qin Lin and Qinya in. Princess, but what can I do for you? Qin Lin asked with gestures. Mo Shanghua took out 6 packets of wrapped powder, and handed them to each of them 3 packets one by one. You can take these 2 packets of powder for 3 days. It's best to take them after dinner every day. When you take them with warm water. By the way, the 2 of you are using different drugs. Don't confuse them. Qin Lin looked at a few packets of powder in his hand with a puzzled face, and gestured. Princess, what do you mean? The slave is in good health. Why should he take this? Qinya looked at the powder in her hand for a long time and then said, Princess, is this the cure for our natural ear and mouth disease? You've been shut up these days and you're not developing antidotes, but for your slave and brother? That's why you suddenly called your brother back. In an instant, she realized all the intentions of Mo Shanghua. She was moved and her eyes filled with tears. Qin Lin's eyes widened when he heard that. He looked at the powder in his hand, and the confused Qinya who was moved by him. His eyes finally fell on Mo Shanghua. He grew up excited mouth, constantly issued a voice similar to the general roar, as if to confirm the authenticity of what Qinya said. The flowers on the street are watching slowly and slowly. Seriously nodded. As you think, you have been following me for a long time. You have been devoted and loyal. Now that the right opportunity has come, I can't miss it. I should seize the opportunity and cure you. She had thought about helping Qin Lin and Qinya heal before, but she didn't know where to start. If it wasn't for the appearance of jianghe, she really couldn't find a better way. She could only let them do it all the time. Qin Lin and Qinya look at each other, then suddenly kneel down heavily and bow down to worship. This is their way to repay, even if the flowers on the street block is useless, but it will hurt them. More uneasy, Mo Shanghua simply did not come forward to help, just stood up, so by a gift. After 2 people kowtow, Mo Shanghua just stepped forward and lifted them up. Qinya wiped her tears from the corner of her eyes and couldn't help saying, Since childhood, I have no father or mother with my brother, and I was born with such a disease. I don't know that I was bullied by you, Xiao. You pulled us out of such a hell. Now you have cured me again. At this point, her tears flow more turbulent is sobbing. Mo Shanghua gently wipes her with a handkerchief. Before she can pacify her, Qin Lin suddenly raises a hand and makes an oath. She turns her eyes to indicate Qinya. Qinya nodded and tried to hold back her tears. She also made a vow. Her voice choked and she was very clear to me. Qinya and her brother swear that they will be loyal to the princess in this life. If there is any betrayal, they will die a terrible death. Although Qin Lin can't speak, he still learns Qinya's mouth shape. His mouth shape is the same as Qinya's. Mo Shanghua looked at Qin Lin, Qinya's brother and sister, who were very solemn. They were silent for a long time, and then they pulled their hands down one by one. I know what you want to say and express. Even if you don't, I know. If you are like this, I will do my best to protect your safety and wealth in this life. Pause, her voice slightly heavy. As for the side, I can't guarantee. I have too many things to do. It will not be peaceful and stable for you to follow me after all. As long as I can stay with the princess, I have nothing to ask for. Qin Lin uses sign language to express his true thoughts. Qinya nodded the same way. She seemed to suddenly think of something, with a pale face. Ning, Princess, you've been studying this medicine these days, so. What about your highness? But I heard that your second highness's attack is getting worse these days. If you can't get the antidote then? Qin Lin smells speech. Eyes also gushed with the color of worry. Mo Shanghua was still calm and calm. I'm not in a hurry at this moment. Besides, I won't put myself in a dangerous situation. You just need to believe me. Qin Lin and Qinya looked at each other, and they were all relieved. After all, Mo Shanghua never talks big. Since she says so, she is quite sure. It was during the discussion that the maidservant outside came in a hurry and said, Princess, your second highness has a bad attack over there. Please go as soon as possible. Has the lord gone? Now the night is approaching. Yin Moli is still in attack at this time, and she has to prevent. If you go back to the prince is not feeling well today, so he went to bed early. He's free. Mo Shanghua could not help muttering a word in a low voice, but her face was okay. He has been hiding for a few days on the pretext of tracking down the poisoning, and now he can't even see it. The longer the poison stays in the body, the more fierce it will be at each attack. It can be said that life is not like death. At this time, Yin Moli almost lost his mind in pain. The veins on the back of his hand had burst, and the same was true on his face. He was sweating all over. Obviously, he had to endure very hard. The bodyguard is more anxious to keep turning around. Seeing the flowers coming, he quickly takes the medicine box in Qinya's hand and puts it on the bedside, saying, Your Highness is going to be unable to hold on, quick. Mo Shanghua nodded faintly and took a cursory look at Yin Moli's face. Then he spoke calmly. I want to lose the needle for him. Come and hold him down. The bodyguard immediately nodded and pressed Yin Moli's shoulders to prevent him from moving. Mo Shanghua just bent down and put Yin Mo in front of her chest. Take off the clothes that have been stained with blood. I saw that Lu Zheng's medicine had been used to mediate in the past 2 days. The scabby wound was broken again by the toxin, and the wound cracked. This time, unlike before, only a little blood came out. At this time, the blood at the wound was like a mountain spring leaking from the crack of the valley, and it kept gushing from the wound. No wonder the bodyguard is now anxious to invite her here. It turns out that the poison has gone deeper and deeper. I'm afraid it's going to attack the heart. By then there will be no medicine to cure. It is reasonable to say that in this case, the earlier the detoxification, the better, but Mo Shanghua does not think so. The tragedy of the original owner is caused by the people in front of him. If we don't let him suffer more, how can we treat the original owner who has disappeared? Thinking of this, after seeing the wound, she did not mention detoxification. Instead, she slowly opened the medicine box, took out the silver needle, deliberately abandoned the catgut that was used to sew the wound, and put on the patching clothes before the candlelight to embroider the cotton thread. As she took liquor to disinfect the silver needle and cotton thread, she explained, My way of seeing a doctor is somewhat different from others. Wounds like this can't heal on their own. They have to be sutured before they can gradually recover. The process will be more painful. You must hold down your second highness. The guard looked at the silver needle in Mo Shanghua's hand and Yin Moli, who was in agony at this time, and said, Either you can help the master to eliminate some pain first, and your highness will be more sober. I think you can cooperate better. Mo Shanghua glanced up at the guard and said in the same tone, At the moment, the second highness's wound is bleeding. The poison is too strong. The ordinary method can't stop. If you don't want the second highness to die, you can make me waste my time like this. The bodyguard was silent and pressed Yin Mo tightly. As long as you can cure your highness, it will depend on you for the time being. Mo Shanghua nodded his head. When the blood flow continued, he didn't care to clean up the wound. He bent down and skillfully passed the silver needle from the split skin of the wound. Yin Mo li extremely its pain of stuffy hum. The body is uncontrollable heavily tremble for a while. The split wound also then tight up, draw blood more turbulent. Even when the waiter looked at him, he felt a faint pain in his chest, and Qinya turned away in a hurry. Mo Shanghua did not even frown. Her eyes were full of indifference. She just looked at the blood and accelerated her speed. Yin Moli almost struggled with pain several times. Fortunately, the bodyguard was still responsible. With the suture of the wound, the blood was less, so he pressed Yin Moli harder. When the wound was sewn up, Yin Moli was already in a daze, pale as paper, and he would faint at any time. But he was biting his teeth and trying not to let himself fall asleep. It's not that he doesn't want to sleep. It's just that the pain of suturing the wound has passed, and the pain caused by toxins in his body still exists. Even though his eyelids are sinking, his consciousness is still very clear. He had to grit his teeth and hang on. Mo Shanghua couldn't see his expression, so he continued to clean up the bloodstain of the wound and apply medicine. Even if she saw it, she would never release his pain. If she wants to, just won't have hemp boiled to scatter of circumstance. Intentionally conceal come down, so blunt so up for him. Make him pain unbearably. Just a little trick can, but she can't let him die like this. Thinking of this, she treated Yin Moli's chest wound, then took out the acupuncture package, and applied the needle to temporarily suppress the poison in his body, so as not to let it into the lungs. As for the poisonous hair that must be produced every day, the pain will not be relieved at the time of the attack. After all, she just didn't let the poison into her heart, and she didn't press the poison into her body. In the eyes of Mo Shanghua, Yin Moli only needs to be immortal. So after she finished all this, she only left one bottle, but asked him to say, "This is the medicine for replenishing qi and blood. The Second Highness has lost so much blood, and now he is short of qi and blood. Take the water 3 times a day, and ask the dining room to make more medicine for replenishing qi and blood. In 7 days he can recover 20% of qi and blood." Only 20% the bodyguard took the small porcelain vase, but he could not help frowning. 20% is not bad. You still need to nourish your qi and blood slowly to get it back. Mo Shanghua glanced at the bodyguard and gave Qinya the medicine box. She said, "Qinya, it's time for us to go." Qinya holds the medicine box in both hands and nods gently. They just turned around, and suddenly came Yin Mo's low and weak voice, and so on. Mo Shanghua steps Emil, turn around to see Yin Moli has been in the bodyguard's help to do reluctantly. The body is almost all rely on the bodyguard body, complexion pale as paper. Mo Shanghua is the first time to see such a weak Yin Moli. She quietly scratched a dark color in her eyes. Her face was the same. "What's your highness's command?" Yin Moli looked at the flowers for a while. Then he coughed twice. Then he said, "I just heard that in the past, but today I see that your medical skills are really extraordinary. It's really rare to have such attainments. Now that your medical skills are excellent, I don't know if the antidote has been successfully developed. If it's ready, you don't have to wait 4 days. It's better to try the antidote now." On the street, his eyebrows were fixed, and a pair of black and white eyes were full of indifference. "Your Highness, I'm flattered. This poison is extraordinary. I've never seen it before. It's going to take some time just to read medical books, let alone detoxify. Your Highness may as well be here. Patience and so on. Another 2 days will be the 4-day period. At that time, I will surely offer the antidote with both hands." Yin Moli flighty eyes across a cold color, and said, "There is such a strange thing in hand. How can we have to 4 days?" This is not only referring to Jianghe, but also to the antidote. The ink color in the flower eyes on the street flashed away, but it was a blank appearance on the face. "What strange thing? Your Highness thinks it's because you've heard a lot of gossip in the house, and you're fond of wishful thinking when you're sick. That's why you say such words." After a pause, her eyes fell on the bodyguard. "You must take good care of your Highness, and ask him to have a lot of rest. Don't let that gossip get close to you." With that, he gave Yin Mo a polite smile. "It's late at night. I shouldn't stay long. Your Highness, please have a good rest and say goodbye." Yin Moli didn't open his mouth, but his narrow eyes narrowed slightly, and his eyes were a bit gloomy. There was no light in the bedroom, and the flowers on the street didn't ask Qinya to wait on them. They rushed her and Qinlin back to take medicine and go to bed early, so they went back alone. She just entered the room, and saw that half of the men with ink hair were sitting cross-legged on the soft couch in the moonlight. Her eyes were very bright in the night, but she could not see half a smile. "You've been sleeping for a long time. What are you doing here?" Although he couldn't see his face clearly, he recognized Yan Beiqing at a glance and didn't care much. He went forward to light the candlestick in the house and said. Yan Beiqing didn't speak, and the bright eyes set off by the night turned with the figure of flowers on the street. Mo Shanghua lights up all the candlesticks in the house, then takes a candlestick and turns around. She found that Yan Beiqing's face was really dark at this time. She couldn't help but draw the candlestick closer to Yan Beiqing's face. She said with interest, "Now that the house is so bright, why is your face as dark as when there is no light?" Yan Beiqing snorted from his nose. Like a wrong child, he muttered in a low voice, "It's not because of you." What? The flower on the street didn't hear clearly, so it couldn't help getting closer. I didn't expect that Yanbei City moved backward instead, and turned around with a calm face. Mo Shanghua put the candlestick on the other side of the table just now. Yan Beiqing grabbed it by the wrist and pulled it to him to sit down. The flower on the street frowned slightly, turned around and said, "Yan Beiqing, what are you playing with?" Yan Beiqing tugged at her wrist. Before he let go of her hand, he stared at her for a long time. Then he said coyly, "Did you take off his clothes when you just healed him?" Mo Shanghua nodded, did not feel there was something wrong. Yes. When Yan Beiqing saw her look, her face became more and more black and ugly. Men and women are different. When you take off his clothes, don't you think it's wrong? The willow eyebrows on the street frowned more tightly. I didn't quite understand why Yan Beiqing was angry about this. Although men and women are different, I am a doctor. In the eyes of doctors, men and women are the same, and there is no difference just because he is the prince. Her thoughts come from modern times. Naturally, she doesn't feel that there is him, so she says what she thinks. Yan Beiqing seemed to be choked by the words of Mo Shanghua. After a while he reorganized his language. "I can't control so much. If you are my princess, you can't see the body of any man except me. I can't stop seeing a doctor because of this. Yan Beiqing, you are too childish." Mo Shanghua pulls out her wrist and totally disagrees with Yan Beiqing's behavior. Yan Beiqing looked at his empty palm, and there were some tyrannical colors in the bottom of his eyes. However, it was not from the flowers on the street. He was just very angry. Why didn't he take the poison directly at that time? No matter what impact Yin Moli's death would have on their plan, just kill him recklessly. After calming down for a long time, he forced down the tyranny in his eyes. He flattened his mouth like a child, and his tone was somewhat aggrieved. "However, you haven't even seen my body. How can you see others? Is that the reason?" Mo Shanghua's frowning brow stretched out, but he couldn't smile bitterly. "Yan Beiqing, how can you be so childish?" Although the words say so, but there is no half of displeasure in the eyes. On the contrary, died a little smile. In fact, she is more curious. Is the cold-blooded and heartless man, who put on his cloak, the same person as the wayward and childish man? Or maybe he was. Or is it just his disguise? While thinking about it, Yan Beiqing suddenly came to her side and said, "My chest is not comfortable, so I should be hurt. Since the princess can show it to others, she should also show it to me." He did not care. A random pull. The collar of the large spring suddenly burst out, chest-thick chest muscles looming in front of us. Before Ming Ming, Yan Moli's figure was also so good. At that time, there was no special feeling in Mo Shanghua. In his eyes, there was only an ordinary body. But at the moment, Yan Beiqing's body in front of her made her inexplicably shy and embarrassed to see it. Yan Beiqing glimpsed the slightly red earlobe of flowers on the street. Instead of calming down, he was even more irritated. When you see him, do you have the same thing?" At the thought of this picture, his heart was almost crazy. Mo Shanghua subconsciously touched the scalding earlobe, only then. "Why Yanbei City? I should ask you what you want today." Yan Beiqing wanted to say something, and then he swallowed it again. After a while his face turned red, and then he squeezed out a word. Can't you see that Wang is eating jealous? Yan Beiqing, who has always been determined, said this sentence slowly under the gaze of Mo Shanghua, but it was very difficult. Eat be jealous? Mo Shanghua is also obviously lunging for a while, obviously did not expect Yan Beiqing would say so. Now her whole brain is empty. Except for Yan Beiqing's figure, everything else in her eyes turns into illusory things, which is dispensable. Only his figure is particularly clear. A corner in my heart seems to be knocked by something. It's crispy and itchy. It's wonderful. When she reacted, Yan Beiqing, who was cold-faced and ruthless in her mind, mingled with Yan Beiqing, who was childish and lovely. She couldn't help laughing. Yan Beiqing's heart, which had been hanging high, was released. After smoothing the neckline, he pretended to be calm and said, I'm tired. I want to go back and have a rest. Let's settle down as soon as possible. With that, he got up to go. But this extremely slow pace, as well as this slightly flow of vision, are clearly out of his mind. But Mo Shanghua is so puzzled. After hearing that Yan Beiqing was going to leave, he glanced at his back at random, and then took back his eyes. He got up with a candlestick, and went to the bed. Yan Beiqing deliberately so slowly for a long time, is about to turn around to say a few words with Mo Shanghua. Then see that she has put out the candlesticks in the house almost. Only the rest of the bed is still on. And Mo Shanghua himself seems to be cleaning up, ready to sleep. Yan Beiqing subconsciously annoyed, and then thought that she had always been such a temperament. Face suddenly was full of helpless to replace. He can't help taking her like this all the time. He's such a grinding goblin. With a slight sigh in his heart, Yan Beiqing also lost his mind. He found a window, then flew out and went quietly. The 4-day period is coming soon. Before Mo Shanghua comes to detoxify, Yan Beiqing comes to Yan Moli by catching the person who poisoned him. In fact, the so-called poisoner is just a scapegoat. The so-called discovery of poison in the diet that day was just a scene in which Yan Moli put some of his blood into the diet and directed and performed himself. No one poisoned him. How could he be the real murderer? But there must be an account of this, so we have to find a scapegoat. Brother Huang, I dare not even go out these days. I'll stay in my house every day to investigate cases. Yan Beiqing said. Seeing that there was tea on the table, he took it directly and drank it down. Although in the disease, Yan Moli is still in front of the soft couch. Only the pale color on his face is slightly morbid. Smell speech, he slightly astringent eyes way. Is also this temple usually inexplicable enemy too much, will fall to now field. Let that you also with trouble. Brother Huang, you and I were born of the same root, so we should. Besides, you suffered here, so I should find out for you. Yen North City lips cape smile also pale a few minutes. The board is right complexion, a serious mouth. You are such a free and unrestrained person in ordinary times. Today, you are so painstaking because of the affairs of our hall. You really moved our hall. Yen Mo pulled the lip without blood color, and spoke in a low voice sincerely. Yan Beiqing smiles, turns his eyes to see the little fellow around him, and says with a smile, "Go and bring people up and show them to the emperor." The small sea-complexioned strange quietly saw Yan Emoli one eye, then just Shide. The boy went down and gave orders. Soon, 2 boys came in carrying a stretcher. The stretcher was covered with a thin layer of white cloth, and the rudiment of human body under the white cloth could be seen. Yan Beiqing didn't pay attention to the stretcher. After the order, he turned his eyes to Yan Moli and explained, "I sent someone to turn the house upside down. This man has been found now. He is a cook working in the dining room. He was instructed to poison the food he sent to you when he was cooking. As for the mastermind behind the scenes, I think it's better for you to interrogate him personally." Yan Emoli nodded slightly to show his approval. Yan Beiqing just set his eyes on the stretcher. On top of that, when he saw that it was covered with white cloth, his face suddenly changed, and he gave a look to the boy on his side. Knowing this, he stepped forward to lift the white cloth. A pale face suddenly came into his eyes. His chest without ups and downs and his closed eyes showed his death. "What's going on?" I want you to look at it. You can't even look at yourself. Yen North City immediately rubs of once then stood up, complexion iron green. Because of this sound, all the little fellows knelt down, their foreheads pressed tightly to the ground. He is so irascible, but I don't know if it is his true nature. Yen Mo Li's eyes were flowing, and the light of his eyes seemed to sweep Yen Beicheng's cheek. Yen Beicheng didn't notice. He was furious. He stepped forward and kicked the little guy who was close to him to the ground. What do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? If you can't make it clear, don't mention it. Brother Huang, even the king won't bypass you. The boy bit his teeth and didn't dare to make a sound. He quickly straightened himself up. If you go back to the Lord, the slaves dare not lynch him. This man bit his tongue last night, and found out this morning that he hasn't had time to report to the Lord. I beg him to forgive me. However, Yen Beicheng obviously didn't believe it. He was a little suspicious. There must be a reason why he would suddenly commit suicide. It's not certain that you have his accomplices among you. It's not necessary to worry about the disclosure of the matter and kill people intentionally. You'd better stand up for yourself, or we will send you all to torture. When Mo Shanghua came in, he just put all the words of Yen Beicheng in his ears. He did not stop walking and stared at his cheek for a moment. His face was full of anger and suspicions. Even the look in his eyes was the same, and there was no flaw in his face, as if he was such a stupid, irascible man. The opera master. Looking at such a Yenbei city, Mo Shanghua suddenly flashed a modern word in his mind, and a funny color crossed his eyes. Wang Ye's temper has always been like this. Your Highness should never mind. Wait and see for a moment. Mo Shanghua just step into words but not to Yen Beicheng said. Yen Mo Li was not surprised. He shook his head and said, I've heard about the character of the North City in this hall for a long time. Since we are brothers, we naturally don't care. Between the words, the eyes fell quietly on Yen Beicheng. There was a dark color in the pupil of Yen Beicheng, especially when he saw the flowers coming in the street, and was the first to speak to Yen Mo Li. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.